Welcome into another edition of the Old North State Sports Show, folks. It's been a while. Welcome back to the show. Maybe you missed me. Maybe you didn't miss me. Maybe you didn't even know that I was gone. Yes, folks, it was a record-setting gap in production for the show. Now, I know I had content coming out because I was smart and I planned, but it was, I think, 11 days. It's been 11 days since the last time I recorded. And to be honest, not that much has changed when it comes to the Carolina Panthers. First of all, so you guys know, if you care, if you don't care, oh well, it's my show. Get to do what I want, get to talk about it. Went to Vegas for work. So it was there, I don't know, 3 days. Got back late Wednesday night. Technically, it was my birthday by that point on Thursday. Had work Thursday. Woke up Friday morning. Actually, I say woke up. We got like 3 hours of sleep because we stayed up all night packing. Woke up at 3:30, 4 o'clock. Drove to Disney World. Spent the full week at Disney World. It was a blast with the family. It's, of course, Pearson and Nolan. Fantastic time. Went to all 4 parks. Got to go to the water park the first day because it was free. So I said, sure, why not? And man, we were all exhausted. And of course, the second to last day, I started to come down with something. It wasn't bad. But man, these last few days have been stuffy, congested, everything in between. And then I'm finally coming off of that. And pollen comes in the air. But enough about that. It's great to be back. The consistency of the content itself, it's going to be full steam ahead as always. A lot of stuff going on personally in my life, dealing with my dad, for those who know or don't know. So it's a bit of a process, but we're going to work through it. We're going to power, and the content will continue to roll because guess what? This is a advantageous revenue stream for me. So if I'm not making content, I'm not making money. It's very important for me to figure out a way to do this because, hey, part-time pays for our entire son's preschool. So that's nice to be able to tell my wife, hey, you know what? This little podcast thing that I do through YouTube pays for preschool. So there you go, monthly basis. Anyways, we've got enough talking. It's time to get up to speed on all things Carolina Panthers. And man, the wave of free agency itself is pretty much done. I know some folks want to see more. I think people tend to forget, if you're not in the weeds with this stuff, it happens fast. Once legal tampering opens, you hear about it. Then we get into the actual signing. And then things are done. You have a big wave, a smaller second wave, if you want to call it that. And then that's pretty much it. Sorry, you're going to hear a little bit of coughing. That was kind of a cough laugh as I powered through. But we're done. I mean, you're still going to have a few signings. There's some clear needs still on the team looking at the state of the roster. But the main purpose of today's episode is to get you guys caught up on everything. So we're going to go back in time, look at where the Panthers started, look at who were free agents here in Carolina. Have they been picked up elsewhere? Are they still in the market? And then, of course, we're going to look at the class for the Carolina Panthers, just analyzing everyone that they brought in. High level, I should say. High level. We are not here today. We did do a video, or I did a video on all the free agents up until the 12th. So I will continue that with Rico, everyone else that was picked up. A few of these guys that are brought back were already on the team, so there's not really much to break down. But we'll continue that. So a lot of fun stuff coming. Anyways, it's time, I guess, at this point, well, in just a second to get into it, but it's been a defensive focused free agency class for the Carolina Panthers, and I don't think that comes as a surprise. We know the defense was terrible. We know where the Carolina Panthers needed to spend their time and money, and that's what they've done here. Now, some folks are still begging and hoping and praying that, you know, somewhere along the way that they can get a receiver. The market's not great. A lot of people thought T. Higgins was going to happen. No, there's just not a lot. Maybe you're holding out for Brandon Ayuk. I don't know. I can tell you, though, through the madness of just everything that's happened, you don't realize that people on X, and I say this because I'm on there, but I personally hold myself accountable for the statements, the information I share. So you're never going to see me trying to pose or fake sources or anything, because there's a lot of that happens out there. Happened over the last week and a half. People claim to have sources. They claim to have this. I will tell you, there's a big difference in a source and an opinion and or someone who's reputable giving an idea. All those things get construed online. People run with it one way or the other. I'm not telling you how to be a fan. I'm not telling you who you should or shouldn't follow or anything like that. But if you want the truth and honesty, you're going to get it from me. I'm not going to venture out and make up fake sources and stories and storylines. Not who I am. It's one of the foundations of why I do this, to come through the lens that I do with integrity and not buying into the BS and other things. And yeah, it takes a little bit of time to get to that point. But I think there's just mass confusion. And I feel bad for some folks that fall for it, because then they believe it, they hype each other up, whatever. We're not here to talk about that today. We are here to get you caught up on this class. So let's go ahead and jump right in, folks. So I thought we would start with the transaction table directly from Panthers.com, but posted into my website. That's not a website that you can access, but it is a website. Taking a look back, let's start at the very beginning. Matthew Wright, special teams kicker. I mean, special teams technically is done unless they want to bring in another kicker. You have Matthew Wright, J.J. Jansen, Andy Dalton. We did release Dane Jackson. Dane Jackson ended up getting picked up, going back up to Buffalo. Restricted free agent, Cade Mays, and exclusive rights free agent, LeBrian Ray were tendered. Then we get into free agency here, or I guess the eve of free agency, with Austin Corbett, Tommy Tremble returning. Then the big news hits on the 10th. J.C. Horn extension, massive extension at that. Mike Jackson with a nice contract. And finally, the news with Miles Sanders being released. Miles Sanders ends up going to the Dallas Cowboys. Miles Sanders also, of course, I think had some choice but not choice words about his time in Carolina. I don't blame him. I think he said he wanted to keep things to himself. He wasn't going to comment on it. I got to say, dude, I get it. And you kind of had that chip on your shoulder and you can't control things, is what you say. But your performance would say otherwise. Like, let's be real. Then, not the sexiest addition, but Sam Martin, punter. Brady Christensen brought back, which was significant. You got the entire offensive line back. And then the real news hits on the 12th, when things can actually become official. Of course, no Milton Williams, and we did hear more developing news around the whole situation where he did have the offer for the Panthers. He was ready, but right after that, he gets the offer from the Patriots. So, again, I don't care how you view the situation, meaning like if you're mad at Dan or not, but I think it's reasonable to know that the Panthers put forth their best foot, gave an offer, and they didn't want to get into a bidding war. Makes, you're limited with the amount of money that you have. They agreed to terms to, Tershawn Wharton, which goes by Turk, Bobby Brown the third, defensive tackle, outside linebacker Patrick Jones the second, and Tre'von Moehrig, which I actually pronounced his name correctly in the video I did, but it's been so long that I can't tell you how to pronounce it right this second. Then, agreed to terms with Christian Roseboom, a linebacker. I'm excited about this and the depth that it brings and the potential for him to challenge Trevin Wallace. Dan Chisena, although not a fantastic move here. Panthers do bring back a wide receiver. Of course, I think the biggest offensive splash so far, outside of Tommy Tremble and the offensive line coming back, Rico Dowdle out of Dallas, really here on a one-year prove-it deal. Good for him. South Carolina product. Nice to be back in the area. Sure, there's some parts of the fan base mad we have another Gamecock. And wide receiver David Moore brought back as well. I think that was the expectation. For anyone following this team, you guys had to know David Moore was in the cards. I said it. He's a reliable target weapon. He's been with Canales, Seattle, Tampa, here in Carolina. All of it makes sense. And then most recently yesterday, agreeing to terms with safety Nick Scott. And there's a lot of mixed emotions about this. Again, I'm not a fan police, so don't take it as that. You can believe what you want. I know his production on the field wasn't great. The Carolina Panthers have 2 safeties. That's it. Up to this point, they had 2 safeties on the roster. You're going to need to carry 4 or 5. You're going to need special teams players. And sorry for folks that are in the camp of Sam Franklin. Sam Franklin's great for special teams, not much of a safety. He would have been playing a lot more this past season if he was. I'm not talking about, pre-injury or anything like that, or the injury itself. Post, when healthy, he just didn't see the field a lot. Still would be a fan of bringing him back, like backs against the wall. It makes sense. But the Panthers chose to go with a guy that was familiar. And so I understand fans too that are frustrated. Why? But I think you when you look at these situations, you can be mad, but I also don't understand the viewpoint of just being mad about everything. And again, I'm not telling you how to feel. You can feel however you want to feel. But when you look at this, what do you want the Panthers to do? $17 million in cap, limited amount of money, limited amount of players that are available that are decent, and we can pull the buzz name words of all the free agents that are available, whoever, Simmons. I get it, but let's be realistic. Like, people live in a Madden-esque world, in my opinion, and all these tools and resources of who's available here, here, and here, and a 1-second highlight or a 30-second clip makes you think that the work that a scouting team has done in the Carolina Panthers, and that's not to give them too much credit because we know there's a lot of misses, but in general, I'm going to roll with what they get. I understand it. It makes sense to me. It makes sense. You have to understand this is a business. We're trying to get to 90. Why not bring back someone who's been here, who understands the system? Maybe they'll have a little bit of an edge. Also, get it if you're just like, nah, this dude's going to be a bust no matter what. So anyways, state of the free agency group that's been brought in, that's pretty much it, folks. That's your class right there. And again, we'll expect a few additional folks to trickle in as things go through. Now, excuse me, down below here, we have, and actually I may skip to, we'll skip to this chart. This is your free agency status chart of all the original Panthers that were available. So your unrestricted free agents, your exclusive rights, and your restricted free agents. So let's look at a quick update on where everyone sits. We know Andy Dalton returned, Austin Corbett, Brady Christensen, Tommy Tremble. Ian Thomas is still a free agent. Felipe Franks agreed to terms with Atlanta. David Moore was brought back. Mike Boone is still a free agent. Deshaun Williams, set really on the offensive side of the ball for your unrestricted free agents. Mike Boone, Ian Thomas are still available. That's pretty much it on the market. Deshaun Williams is still available. Cam Gill, Shaq Thompson. So I feel like Shaq may be a veteran signing as they get to camp, or as teams can work him out and really see how up to par he is. He may not be 100% yet and be able to show teams like, hey, he's ready. So that could be closer to a summer or training camp signing. Also, it helps teams with money and all the things that go with that when you sign him a little bit later. Mike Jackson returned. Caleb Farley, still a free agent. Xavier Woods signed with Tennessee. Jordan Fuller, other safety that was available, signed with Atlanta. Nick Scott, of course, returned to Carolina. Sam Franklin, again, still a free agent. So that's the thing. When people tell me, what about this guy? What about this guy? And he's still a free agent. Should tell you about some of the state of some of the players on the team. No knock on them. Lonnie Johnson agreed to terms with the Raiders. Johnny Hecker to Tennessee. And special teams land, Eddie Pinheiro is still on the market, which I don't know that that's necessarily surprising, but it is a little bit. I would have anticipated someone might want to come in and scoop him up, but he's still sitting out there. And J.J. Jensen, of course, returned. Your restricted free agents, Cade Mays, we know, re-signed. Devin Tompkins is a free agent. Raheem Blackshear, also a free agent. There is potential for him to come back when you start talking about special teams bodies. And Velus Jones Jr. signed with New Orleans. Dan Chisena agreed to terms with Carolina, LeBron Ray, and then Chandler Wooten is a free agent. So that's the full class right there of all your guys that were available and where they sit today. So, I mean, honestly, the Panthers brought back a decent portion. A few guys hit the market, and a few guys are still available. I think it's anticipated, but it also shows you just the state of the roster of the Panthers to see how many guys are still floating out there, not getting picked up by other teams at the moment. So there you have it. Now, we'll close out this episode taking a look at the state of the roster. Now that you have these new additions, where does it stack up with money? So Bryce Young, of course, leading the quarterback room, Andy Dalton and Jack Plummer, Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dowdle, Jonathan Brooks, and Imani Bailey round out your running back room, although it's really a Hubbard and Dowdle tandem. Still would expect the Panthers, knowing that Dowdle could be a one-year rental, for them to look at a possible late round selection for a running back. You never have too many running backs. Wide receiver position is the position group that probably drives Panthers fans the craziest. And yes, this is a typo. We know Jordan Matthews is tight end. But Adam Thielen, Xavier Legette, Dan Chisena, Dax Milne, and Jalen Coker. It's surprising that, when you're an undrafted free agent, that's part of it. But Jalen Coker, almost the lowest paid receiver out of the entire group. Bryce Tremaine, TJ Luther, and David Moore. Your tight end room, led by Tommy Trimble, Jatavian Sanders, Dominique Daphne, and James Mitchell, and again, Jordan Matthews is in this mix. You really have three with other potential on here. Ike Ekwonu, Taylor Moton, Yash Nijman, and these kind of just threw in left and right tackle, but really your swing tackle, Yash, and Brandon Walton. And then guards, Robert Hunt, Damian Lewis. We know Cade Mays is center. Again, typo there. Chandler Zavala and Jatiri Carter, as well as Jarrett Kinston, Austin Corbett, and then Brady Christensen, again, swing, guard, center, tackle, wherever needed, and Andrew Rame. On the defensive side of the ball, this also copied a little bit weird, but it's okay. Derek Brown, Shy Tuttle took a pay cut. He's still here. Turk Wharton, Bobby Brown, Sam Roberts, Jaden Crumity, and Jared Clark. You have Ashawn Robinson, LeBron Ray, Popo Omave. Outside linebacker, edge, we know a lot of work to be done here, but Clowney, Wonham, Patrick Jones, DJ Johnson. I really look for Patrick Jones to compete for a starting job. Amari Barno, Carlos Basham Jr., Thomas Akum, Jacoby Wyndham, and Kenny Dyson. Again, you're getting into the practice squad here with the depth. Josie Jewell, and again, Christian Roseboom, $2.5 million, not Josie Jewell money. Dude had a heck of a lot of tackles last year. I think he can either be a really pivotal role piece or, again, compete against Trevin Wallace, although you'd like to see Trevin take the job just by the nature of him being 22 and younger and learning the role. But it doesn't hurt to have another year of experience and just kind of learning a little bit more this year, taking it slower. John Radigan, Claude Cherilus rounds out your group. J.C. Horn and Mike Jackson, the 1-2 cornerback room punch. Caleb Evans, Shaw, Smith Wade, and Shamar Bartholomew. Tre'von Moehrig, and again, I knew how to pronounce it. It's been too long. Tamani Richardson, and now Nick Scott, Sam Martin, Matthew Wright, and JJ Jansen round out your special teams unit. So that is all for today, folks. I appreciate you guys tuning in. It's been way too long. A lot of more content will be coming out because that's what we do. We're getting back in the groove of things. So anyways, folks, that's going to do it for today's episode. This is Carolina Dad. Y'all have a good one.